Hi guys, welcome to today's episode of Zoo School Live. My name is Holly and we have Mel behind the camera who's going to be giving you guys a lot of information today.
Hi guys.
So I'm super excited. Today we're finally meeting my favorite animal here at the zoo, which is Slash the Red Panda. Now a lot of this technology stuff is new for a lot of our animals here, so we're going to do the best we can to try to get him comfortable with us with the camera while we're in there. I'm hoping he's going to hang out and train for us for a little bit. But we'll be here to answer all your questions about red pandas and hopefully get you guys a lot of info regardless of how well Slash behaves today. So as you guys have seen on some other episodes, we are using some protective equipment with some of the animals here just to make sure that none of my germs, if I may have some, could transfer to Slash. So Slash is one of the animals here that we're using this equipment for. So I'm going to go ahead and put up my mask and we'll head in and try to hang out with Slash. So this is Slash's outdoor exhibit. If you've been here to the zoo, you've probably seen it. Slash is being a little sleepy angel over here. So we're going to see if he wants to come hang out with us. Hi, buddy. Hi, what are you doing?
So sometimes Slash does get a little nervous with more than one person, but Holly, who's over there talking to him, is his favorite person here at the zoo. So while she tries to get him interested in taking some snacks and maybe doing some training, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about red pandas. Red pandas were actually pandas before giant pandas were. So a lot of people have heard about the giant panda or think that they're really cool. But red pandas were actually called pandas almost 50 years before giant pandas were. One of the names that red pandas go by is lesser panda, but those of us who really love red pandas call them the original panda. In addition to red panda, firefox is another nickname for the red panda. These guys are roughly the size of a house cat, give or take. They can weigh anywhere from about 8 to 14 pounds. They're from the tip of his cute little nose just to the start of his tail. He's anywhere from about 12 to 20 inches long, up to 24 inches. But then his nice long tail, which we'll try and get a view of, his tail can add anywhere from 12 to 20 additional inches. So if you measured him from the tip of his nose to the tip of his tail, that tail is about half of his body length. Yes, he just woke up. And the red panda, especially in the wild, loves two things the most. Those are eating and sleeping. So a red panda eats mostly bamboo. They'll eat up to 98% of their diet is going to consist of bamboo. Here at the zoo, we have bamboo for him all of the time. There's some of it over here. So he has that available all the time. And then we also give him some other treats. What Holly has for him today are treats that she made. We call these Panda Balls, and they're just a mixture of the biscuits that we feed him, a couple different kinds of fruit, so apples, pears, grapes, and there's actually bamboo mixed in there as well. So I say he does like to sleep a lot, so he just woke up. He's a little nervous about what we're doing, so I'm gonna stand back here and we'll just keep talking about him and see if he gets interested in coming back. Now, the red panda is native to the Himalayan mountains. So in places like Nepal and Tibet and into China, they're used to living in very high altitudes, anywhere from 5,000 to 15,000 feet above sea level. So really high up there where it gets really cold. Holly's gonna take this camera a little closer so you can get a better view of him. So today's a pretty good temperature, but when it does get hot, Slash gets even sleepier because he doesn't like to move around too much in the heat. We'll talk about a couple of the adaptations Slash has for living in the cold. So you see, we talked a little bit about his nice long tail that you could see just there. He uses his tail for a couple things. One of those is balance. You see him walking, he just walked over a tree limb. So he uses that nice long tail for balance. And when it's cold out, he also uses it as a blanket. This is something that snow leopards also do in the very cold places that they live, where when it's cold, he'll curl up in a tight little ball and he'll actually wrap his tail right around his face, and that keeps him nice and warm. So we talked about how they live up very high in the mountains. They also live in the trees. So we don't have a lot of tall trees in his exhibit here because red pandas do love to climb, and when they climb, it's hard to keep them where you want them to stay. Also, Slash, even though he is a red panda who's very good at climbing, he sometimes has some balance problems. So we make sure that he has a lot of angles and a lot of ramps, so he doesn't have to climb too straight up or go up too high. He's thinking about maybe going inside. So Slash does always have access to his outside exhibit and his inside exhibits. He's got heat and air conditioning inside, so he has the choice of where he wants to go depending on how he feels. It looks like he feels about going inside. So we'll see, does Holly want to go try and bring him back, or do we want to go inside and see him?
We'll do both. We'll see if he'll come back out.
Okay.
He's not super used to this kind of technology, so I'm going to try to give him a break, even though he's really embarrassing me, but that's fine. So just to show you guys something a little bit cool here, we do have a red panda skull here. Now Mel talked to you guys a little bit about what he eats here at the zoo, and it's bamboo, it's leaf eater biscuits, it's fruits. So he has the diet of an herbivore. So Slash is actually an herbivorous carnivore. So his body is built to be a carnivore, but he eats mostly plants, and that's just something they adapted to do since they were in an area that had a lot of bamboo available to them. So that's just what they started eating. But if you look at this skull of a red panda here, they've got nice sharp teeth, they've got big canines, all these teeth are super, super sharp, and their digestive system is actually really simple too, just like ours. So they're not actually built to break down the plant material that they eat, which means they eat a lot of it. So he eats a lot and he poops a lot too, because he doesn't get a ton of nutrients from those plants that he's eating, because he's one of the few animals, like the giant panda, who are herbivorous carnivores. So just a fun fact about them. All right, we'll see if we can get him to come back out here.
So Holly's going to go try and get Slash to come back out here, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what he eats. So he is an herbivorous carnivore, which means even though he mostly eats the bamboo, he does also love to mow the grass out here in his exhibit, because that's another plant that he really loves. In addition to that, he does love fruits. And in the wild, red pandas will eat acorns, sometimes they'll eat bird eggs, and sometimes they'll actually even eat birds. So sometimes they get extra nutrition that way. But that bamboo is the main part of their diet. Anywhere from 90 to 98% of their diet in the wild is bamboo. And giant pandas, we talked about them, they're kind of their cousins. Giant pandas will eat every part of the bamboo. They'll eat the stalks, the leaves, the stems, the roots. The red pandas only eat the leaves. That's where most of the nutrition is. We're going to give them just a minute. We'll go look at the bamboo while I talk about it. So they actually eat just the leaves of the bamboo. And in the wild, a female red panda will eat as much as 20,000 leaves of bamboo every single day. So getting 20,000 leaves of bamboo here in Norristown is a lot of work. So Slash, in addition to his bamboo, eats what we call leaf eater biscuits. And then sometimes we make treats out of those, which is what Holly has for him. She's going to see how, I'm going to stay right here, see if he wants to participate.
Nope, I would rather not, thank you.
So another thing that we can talk about, he's walking by this little bush right here. Those are service berries. They're not ready yet this year. We'll talk about some of the things that Slash loves. He loves holly, he loves service berries, and he loves eating grass. And those are just some of his favorite things. And again, we talked about the kinds of foods that he eats. because they have that digestive system that's not really made to eat a lot of plants, he only digests about 25% of the bamboo that he eats. And that means that sometimes a red panda will poop every 2 to 4 hours. That's just a lot of poop. You'll see some of the things we have on exhibit. We have a little box that you might have just seen in the video a minute ago. We call that a latrine, and that's a red panda bathroom. So he will usually go to the bathroom in the same spot, which makes it nice and easy for us to clean. But they also do that in the wild because pooping in the same place marks their territory. These guys are solitary. So in the wild, Slash would live all by himself unless it was mating season. So here in the zoo, he does live by himself. So he doesn't need to poop to mark his territory, but he does still mark in the same spot. Say, nice for us, easy to clean.
All right, guys. Well, we have a lot of questions from you guys. Again, I'm hoping that he's going to at some point start hanging out with us, and we'll see. But let's answer some of your questions, because I want you guys to learn about red pandas, even if you can't see all the fun, cool things Slash does for us sometimes. All right. Cameron wants to know, what are pandas' favorite foods? That's a great question. So I would have to say that Slash's absolute favorite food are these service berries. So we will go ahead and harvest those before they become ripe, so he can't just mow down this entire tree, which is what he did last year, and just eat all these berries. So we'll harvest them, and we can keep them in the freezer to use as treats for him throughout the year. So they have a short window where they're ripe, and either he'll eat them all, or we can collect them and then feed them throughout the year. Great question. All right, Lily would like to know if he is a baby, and Megan wants to know how old he is. He does look like a baby, and he's acting like a baby today, certainly, but he is not a baby. He is full grown. He's actually going to be turning 6 years old on June 26th, so I'm super stoked to celebrate his birthday. All right. Tracy would like to know if we plan on getting more red pandas. Tracy, I want to tell you yes, because I would love to have more red pandas in the future. This space is really only enough for Slash. We do like to give red pandas the option to be away from each other if they want to be. So if we wanted more red pandas in the future, we would probably want to build another indoor holding space because mainly they're solitary. They sometimes get along, but we want to give them that option to be a part if they want to be. So hopefully in the future we'll expand our red panda exhibit and get more, so I'm hoping. But for right now, it's just Slash Bash.
Who's going back inside?
He'll come back out. We'll get him back. Faith would like to know if they use their tails like cats do. Sort of. They use them for balance like cats do, but it's also big and fluffy and warm, so they actually use it kind of like a blanket. They curl up with it and lay on it during their cold time sleeping in the Himalayas. And Slash does curl up and sleep with it here, and it's precious and adorable. If you guys come and see him here at the zoo, he does spend a lot of his time sleeping, so you might see him in one of his signature super cute sleeping positions. All right. Shelby wants to know, how fast are they? Mel, did you get a mile per hour number?
I certainly did. Red pandas can run up to 20 miles an hour.
Wow.
And I looked up, just for comparison, an average human runs 28 miles an hour. So Slash can run pretty fast, but you could outrun him.
Slashy, what are you thinking? This is like your big day, and you're not hanging out so much. What do you think?
Well, Holly's looking at Slash. Marissa wants to know, will he ever get a new friend? And we did just talk about that. We would like to get more red pandas here, but it's unlikely that Slash will get a new friend, because honestly, he's a very special boy, and he really does like to be alone. Courtney wants to know, I thought they liked to climb. Why doesn't he have any tall trees in his exhibit?
All right, that's a great question. So Mel covered that we don't want him to be able to climb out of his exhibit, so that's part of the reason. But Slash is a little bit special. We have posted some things about his health in the past, and Slash did have a protozoa infection a couple years ago. It's a rare brain protozoa that he did have an infection of. We treated it, and he healed from it. We actually had an MRI done on him last year, and we were able to see some of the scar tissue in his brain from it. But it does, Slash is still super happy and healthy here, but he's not the best climber or jumper. So he has some trouble really jumping. If you see red pandas at other facilities, they do jump from branch to branch. They're really agile. Slash is not that agile. He's still a pretty good climber, but he's not the best at jumping, and we don't want to give him super high spaces in case he were to fall or anything like that. Again, he's pretty good with his balance. We just don't want to take any chances because he's just a special little guy. So he does have slightly lower perching than you might see from other red pandas. But that is an awesome question. Amelia wants to know if it's rare to see red pandas in zoos. Mel, maybe you know this too. I've seen them in several zoos, not a ton of zoos. But yeah, do you know?
I don't know the numbers, but there actually is quite a good breeding program in zoos right now. Unfortunately, red pandas don't breed very well in zoos. So we do try a lot. So you'll see more adults than you'll probably see babies. There are a couple zoos that have been really successful. For example, the Knoxville Zoo breeds a lot of red panda successfully. And they're always looking for new zoos to introduce to the program to keep breeding them to make sure we have a healthy population. So they're definitely around in a lot of zoos, but maybe not all of them.
All right, Kristen would like to know if they are extinct. So Kristen, these guys are not extinct in the wild, but they are endangered. So they are typically found in areas that are very remote, right? They're in mountainous regions of the Himalayas. So the number counts that are happening there are difficult and not always the most accurate. But they think that there are less than 10,000 red pandas left in the wild. So they are listed on the IUCN list as endangered. All right, Maya would like to know if they're good jumpers. We did just talk about that probably after you asked your question. In general, red pandas do seem to be good jumpers. Slash, while he's still pretty good at climbing, really is not a good jumper. Great question. All right, Joe would like to know if they're friendly. So that really depends on the temperament of the animal. Some of them can be friendly. They don't like to be spooked or kind of, I guess spooked is the right word. They do sometimes do what we call a panda slap, where they can rear up and use their paws to slap. That is a defense mechanism they use in the wild. And they could use it on us if they wanted to. So we try to be nice and calm and go slow around Slash. We don't force him to do anything he doesn't want to do, because he also has a very strong bite force, and we don't want to give him any reason to want to bite us. Slash definitely has a relatively mellow temperament. He doesn't really enjoy being pet or cuddled or anything like that, so not friendly to that sense. But he doesn't typically do anything aggressive towards us. That's a great question. All right, Kristen wants to know how long they live until.
So red pandas can average anywhere from 8 to 9 years up to their early to mid-teens in captivity. They usually can average up to 12 to 14. And the oldest red panda on record that I could find was 23 years old. But that's really old. So at 6, Slash here is just about middle-aged.
He really is not interested in my kids today.
And Christina wants to know, can red pandas and giant pandas live together? So in the wild, they do live in the same parts of the world, but they don't really come across one another. The giant pandas don't live as high up in the mountains as the red pandas do. And I'm not sure that a little red panda who's in his own family and a bear like the giant pandas are would really get along very well. So while Holly goes in to see if Slash is interested in coming back out, I'll keep answering your questions. Ash wants to know, are they good climbers? Do they use their claws to climb? They are very good climbers. One of the coolest things about red pandas is all their adaptations for climbing. They have semi-retractable claws that are really very sharp. They also use their, sorry about that. They're very good climbers. When they climb down, they actually climb down head first, and they have a pseudo-thumb like giant pandas do, which they use for bamboo, but they also rotate that, and they have very flexible joints to help them climb down from trees.
We might go outside and just kind of take some video inside like we've been doing with some of our other tasks the last couple days. He's just back inside now, so. Oh, well, we only have one more question, so maybe we'll just do that. He really embarrassed me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed how cute he was. maybe we'll get some more training videos up later in the week so you guys can see how cool he can be. Again, this is a very different situation for him to have someone talking in the same space as him, so I'm not really mad at him, but just a little embarrassed.
So we actually have 2 more questions. Maeve wants to know, is he in the panda family? He has a raccoon tail.
Nice. So these guys are actually in a family all their own. They are most closely related to raccoons. So they are more closely related, I should say, to raccoons than they are to giant pandas. Giant pandas are a completely different animal, and these guys are actually in a category all their own. But yes, great observation with that raccoon tail. They are more closely related to raccoons than they are to giant pandas.
And our last question, does he lay in hammocks like other pandas do?
Oh my gosh, you know he does. He doesn't do it as much as some others I've seen. He kind of likes his shelves and he likes laying on flat blankets. But he definitely likes to hang out in this hammock up here. If you guys come during the summertime, you might see him curled up in there taking a little nap. So that's fun that you've seen other pandas in hammocks as well. But yeah, he sure does love a good hammock. It's a great question. Oh, and there is one more. All right, Valerie wants to know, do they have any predators in the wild? I do know they're in the same area as snow leopards, so those could definitely be a predator for them. They're a little big. I don't know. Have you heard of any other predators for them? No?
I do. Here's what we're going to do is we're going to double check that, and we'll answer that one in the comments because I can't remember offhand. But snow leopards definitely do live there. They're probably not their main food source for a snow leopard, but it's definitely possible.
Well, all right, guys. I hope you enjoyed seeing how cute Slash is. I wish I could have showed you again a little bit more cute stuff, but I still hope that you liked learning about him. Mel is going to be on Facebook in a little bit to answer your questions, so if you have more, please put them on there and let us know. And if you have any fun artwork of Slash, you guys know I like your artwork. I love Slash artwork, so please send that over if you feel like giving us your representation of Little Slash Bash. And thanks, and we will see you guys again tomorrow. Bye!